Hey everybody, welcome to a pretty special video review. I don't know quite how I'm going to do this because it's hard to get all of these guys in, but this is what I promised before. This is my Luke version of my other Vader YouTube video, which is kind of showing you all of the Vader Master Replicas lightsabers. So this one is going to show you all of the Luke Skywalker Signature Edition Master Replicas hilts. There'll be a couple of versions of that later on. I'll be grouping them a little bit. But for now, it's going to be the signature editions. So this is a very rare thing to see. Only a handful of people, I believe, in the world can say that they have this. And of that handful, I don't know, how many, of course, are inclined to make a YouTube video. So sorry for the sort of, unprofessional look. I mean, I have this on my countertop in the kitchen. There's not really a whole lot of places to be able to showcase all of this, to have a wide enough countertop to showcase this. But here we go, chronologically. We have our Master Replicas Star Wars A New Hope Signature Edition. Then we have the Empire Strikes Back Signature Edition. And then, of course, we have the version 2 Return of the Jedi Signature Edition. And you can see Mr. Hamill's signature on all three. And you can take a look at the hilts from all three. So I'm probably going to have to stitch this together. I'm going to stop and then I'm going to, re-record and kind of do this sequentially, so hopefully we'll get the best view possible. I will, of course, compare and contrast the New Hope and Empire Strikes Back, because they're both Graflex hilts, whereas you can imagine the Return of the Jedi one is a completely new saber. It's actually, based off of the Obi-Wan design, so there's not much to see there. But, we'll go through this sequentially. But for now, it's just a pretty awesome sight to see all three hilt signature editions laid out like this, one after another. One of the obvious things that you can tell is that the Empire Strikes Back one has a much, much lower profile acrylic case. It's actually a huge lip from here to here. So hopefully you can definitely appreciate that. It's kind of crazy, actually. And when you take into account the bunny ear over here, there's I swear, less than a millimeter clearance between the top of the acrylic case and, between the top of the bunny ear and the bottom of this acrylic case. It's really low. You can also tell how the acrylic case is, sitting on the inside of this lip. Whereas for later on, for all of the later Master Replicas newer cases, you can see that the acrylic case rests on the outside on this beveled edge, both here and for the Return of the Jedi version 2. So this was one of the last hilts that they made. This was actually done in 2007. You can tell by looking at the date at the end of the hilt. And this was done a year earlier in 2006. And this, of course, was one of the first hilts ever made back in 2002, 2003. And you can clearly see the difference in both the acrylic display case, as well as the mirror base, as well as the signature plaque. So you can see here that this is, of course, the old silver plaques that tarnish very easily. And then these are the newer ones with the brushed aluminum finish, both for Jedi as well as for A New Hope. So you can kind of clearly tell, again, the difference. I'm going to try to back up so you have a chance to kind of see all of this in one shot, which again, I think is pretty cool. So there you have it. And I'm going to end this segment. In the next one, we're going to take the display cases off and put a little bit of black background. so you can see the sabers a little bit better next to each other. So I'll see you after the transition. Okay, welcome after the break. So as you can see, I've removed the acrylic display cases. So now you can clearly see the hilts all lined up. I'll get this thing a little bit out here. So I actually have a custom acrylic case coming from a private company in Australia who makes these. And I think his is like a version of this, very close to this and this, way higher acrylic case with the beveled edge. So hopefully this will be a lot better displayed and definitely will fit in better. Again, this is the original. So for completeness or thoroughness sake, you have to have this, but it really doesn't fit with the rest of the collection. And I much prefer these newer display cases over the old ones in 2000 and 2002, 2003. So here we go again. New Hope, Empire, and Jedi. And we can try to swing around. I think we'll be able to show the year here. This is 2007. And that's take a look here. You can see that is 2003 right there. I finally got into focus. And then over here, I guess it's 2006. So you can also see that the way the legs are cut, Empire and Jedi are facing with the emitter to the right, whereas for A New Hope, the emitter is facing to the left. And that's just kind of the way it's displayed. Of course, I can always just turn this around, but you can tell that there's just way more room with the space here for you to put the plaques. So it doesn't really work the other way. And also, if you want to display the clamp box, you need to display it this way, because just flipping it around, you're going to miss out on that. So this is pretty clearly the way you're supposed to display the New Hope version, as well as here. And once again, you can tell that there is orientation to these lightsabers, and the bunny ears is clearly facing up. And so based on that orientation, you can see that the clamp box, the control box, is on the 3 o'clock position for the Empire, and it's on the 9 o'clock position for the New Hope. That's one of many differences between the two, which we're going to go over in a bit. By the way, in the original prop from the movie, this actually does change orientation. There are versions of the original props where the bubble strip, this control box, is actually on the 3 o'clock position versus the 9 o'clock. But for the purposes of the Master Replicas version, they kept the 9 o'clock for the New Hope, and then they went to the 3 o'clock for the Empire Strikes Back. Okay. Now, while I'm here, we can certainly take a look at the different signatures and the different signature plaques. So I'm gonna take this thing out, take this thing out. So you can see that the New Hope version is the only one that sort of requires this worldwide edition plaque. Again, we talked about this in the original review. For some inexplicable reason, they decided not to put in the edition number on the original signature plaque, and they did this for many lightsabers produced in this year, and so they were forced to actually come out with a second signature or second worldwide edition plaque. I mean, it's really classy, and I like it. It's nice. I'm not going to complain about it, but it is a bit superfluous. and does take up extra room, and then further muddies the collecting game in a way that's really not necessary. Here you can clearly see the difference. You can clearly see my reflection. I really love, again, this sort of silver plaque. It looks so classy, so beautiful, but it does just unfortunately tarnish. But of the two, I've mentioned it before, I much prefer this signature plaque versus the more utilitarian version of these. For sure, it's never going to tarnish, but it just doesn't quite have the class of this one. But another more practical thing to notice, of course, is that the newer versions, this is the same one you see with all the new ones, like Mara Jade and Mace Windu, the Vader, Return of the Jedi Vaders. Because it's a lower profile, it's also, of course, much easier to display underneath the lightsaber, for instance. And you don't run into the problem with this, where you require a much higher leg in order to do it. Although you can see that I could take the Empire Strikes Back one, and if you put it here, you can actually pretty easily, display it. For instance, with the newer cases and the slightly higher elevation, this would be actually completely fine. And that's what I'm hoping my new custom display case is going to allow me to do, actually. Versus here, where it's so low that you're literally touching the hilt and you can't even see all of this. So I much prefer, again, the design or the layout of the newer cases. So while we're doing that, let's just kind of check out Mr. Hamill's signature. You can definitely tell, for instance, that this was signed with a much finer marker. Compare the signature from here versus the much thicker signature here, and then the thicker signature over here. So you can tell from here to here that it is definitely, again, just a little bit finer pen. I'm putting this on top of each other so you can definitely tell. So there you go. And you can clearly see, again, for the version 2, it's 43 out of 500. You can see, again, that for the New Hope, they don't have the limitation requiring, again, the creation of this plaque. Just, again, so stupid. Why not have just kept this? You could just put down 245 out of 750, would have been done. And of course here, the same thing. You have 303 out of 1500. Absolutely, no controversy there. So there you have it. The 3 signatures, clearly by the same guy. It's kind of interesting. When you have so many signatures of Mark Hamill, you can definitely kind of tell how he signs his name. And they're not exactly identical as you wouldn't expect it to be, but you can definitely kind of tell, again, how he does the 2 L's. And he kind of has this weird upside down M. It looks like almost like a W, just fascinating, and his A looks like an O. So there you go. So these are the signature plaques and the worldwide edition plaque. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut again, and I'm going to redo things. And this time I'm going to take the lightsaber off of the plaque so we can compare them. Now I'm going to do that just for the New Hope and the Empire Strikes Back, because obviously there's really nothing to be gained from taking the Return of the Jedi version 2 off of the the display. I already did that for the original review. Very nice long review you can reference if you're interested. But taking these 2 off and comparing them, I think will be quite interesting. But again, I won't be doing it for that, mainly because I don't see much point in that. If I'm ever fortunate enough to get a Return of the Jedi Elite Edition, I would definitely be doing that with this, because there is then some points of comparison between a so-called brand new version, the version 1 undamaged or unweathered, versus, of course, the signature weathered version 2. So I'll see you again after the cut, and we're going to look at the New Hope and the Empire Graflex models and take a look at those differences. I mentioned those differences, of course, in the separate reviews for both of these, but there's nothing like actually holding them in hand to really showcase. Okay, I'll see you afterward. Hey everybody, so welcome back after the break. I forgot actually one more transition We've looked at the lightsabers all together with acrylic on. We've looked at them with acrylic off. We looked at the signature plaques. But before moving to the actual hilts themselves, we didn't compare the actually certificates of authenticity. So first of all, you can clearly tell that the envelope, this is the 2003, Empire Strikes Back signature edition. So you can tell this is actually like a regular envelope, right? Just like this. And then you can tell that this is the 2006 version, which is black. All of the lightsabers produced in 2006, again, not only was missing the limitation which necessitated the second worldwide edition plaque, but they were all black envelopes that kind of open out like this. Okay, so this is from New Hope. And then for 2007, the last year they did it, they moved away from the black envelope back to the sort of the beige color, but it's still like a fold out versus a regular envelope. So that's some small differences. We're going to take just the certificate of authenticity out. So here is the Return of the Jedi version 2. And this is the obviously the New Hope version. Interestingly, they don't even tell you it's a New Hope. It just says signature edition. Whereas here, at least, they actually, label it for you to let you know. And then last but not least, we have the Empire Strikes Back version. So let's take a look at these three together. Again, clearly you can tell the difference. Look at the signature edition of the very first, arguably the very first signature edition lightsaber ever produced, 2003, Empire Strikes Back. Look at the gold embossed, coloring versus here, where it's like, it's pretty shoddy. I mean, the one in 2006, it's got nothing. It's just flat black, They don't even give you the official prop replicas. Come on, master replicas. It's just, you can tell this is just a way more low budget, And then they kind of, obviously, in response to the complaints after this, they gave you a little bit more information, kind of a nice little 30th anniversary right there. But you can clearly tell that the best looking is, when they just first got it, which is right here, right? So there's that. And then from here, of course, you can see that, because there's this extra triplicate, this extra triptych right here, when you fold it in, they actually put down a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, which is really nice. You have the 2 extra sheets of paper to protect. I'll put this aside. And then, of course, you have the really nice gold embossed seal with Howard Rothman's signature, Scott Vogel, the president of Lucas Licensing, and the chief executive officer of Master Replicas, respectively. Just very, very classy. It tells you right there, Luke Skywalker lightsaber, signed by Mark Hamill, and of course, a great picture of the man himself signing. So this is fantastic. Again, compared to the middle one in 2006, where you can now clearly see that there's this, there's the seal, but you don't have, Vogel Rothman's signature. It's missing that, and of course, it's missing the picture right here, right? So then you have to actually give you this photo insert. So quite a bit difference. Yeah, it's pretty cool because we can put this next to each other. You can kind of see, Mr. Hamill. He's kind of changed a little bit with age, different haircut. Still looks pretty similar right here, right? Pretty cool. So this was 2002, the year before the year before the lightsaber was released. Here they actually date it. So this is November 2nd, 2005. So this is 3 years later. And then finally, if we open up this guy, you can see here that this is a year later. So let's try to get all of this together. So there you have it. Yeah, Mr. Hamill here, November 14th, 2007, November 2nd, 2005. And I mean, I don't know the date. They didn't even date this, but I would guess this was sometime in 2002. So you can definitely kind of see the 3 marks all together. So you see what I mean when I say like how you can clearly tell just the degeneration of, in a sense, quality or attention to detail from 2002 when Master Replica started to 2007. You went from, you know, like beautiful certificate authenticity with the signature photo to them having to actually send it out to you, to like, what the hell is this little tiny box? I mean, come on, you know, give us more Master Replicas. Like, why couldn't you have taken this photo and blown it up to this size? It's just, you only did 500 of these, you know, just kind of like, come on, guys. So there you have it, you know, so there you go. And then here, and then here. So there you have it, guys. That's, you know, those are the 3 certificates of authenticity. I think I've made it now pretty clear and shown pretty clearly why I love this one. I prefer, you know, the old school certificates way better. So classy, really nice, you know. So anyways, you can clearly see the difference. That's it. Kind of lay it out for you. You know, those are the 3. Okay. So after the break, I will finally get around to handling and showcasing the New Hope versus the Empire Strikes Back Hilt, and kind of just dwelling on some of the differences and feeling it out and stuff. Pretty cool. Like I said, you won't find another YouTube video. This is the only one, I'm pretty sure, on YouTube that does all of this. So I'll see you after the break, guys. Okay, welcome back after the break. So this is, you know, kind of the moment of truth, or I guess this is the main event. I put away the version 2, Return of the Jedi signature. So now let's take a look at the Graflex hilts. In terms of the weight, if I pick both up, by far the New Hope version is way heavier than the Empire Strikes Back version. Again, this is 2003, 2006, couple years difference. They seem to have really upped the, in my opinion, the quality, you know, of this one for sure. Okay, so remember that it's a little bit odd because the New Hope, of course, chronologically came first. This was the very first time the whole world saw what a lightsaber, you know, hilt looks like. But in terms of production, Master Replicas made the Empire Strikes Back one first, followed quite a few years later, you know, I think actually 4 years later, by the New Hope version. So 4 years, definitely a lot changed, you know, but I think we should probably just go with the New Hope version because it is just the more chronologically accurate. So again, the Graflex main body, you can clearly see the bubble strip from the Texas Instrument. I don't know why it's so difficult to focus right now. That's kind of weird, but okay. There wasn't this problem earlier. So in any case, hopefully you can see the fact that, you know, there's the bubble strip here, there's the lever over here. Some of the props, the lever was actually open, and some was, of course, close to the clamp box, and Master Replicas chose to recreate the closed version. So this is, again, the exactual bubble strip, 19, cut version. And you can see that that's clearly different from the Empire Strikes Back, where they replaced it with the trimmed PCB right over here. But again, you can see that the lever is still in the closed position. The interesting thing is, again, if you look at the hilt, top down with the bunny ears pointing up, then you can clearly see that the clamp box or the control box is at the 3 o'clock position. This would be noon, 3 o'clock position right here. And that the New Hope bunny ears at the 12 o'clock, but the control box is actually at the 9 o'clock position. So they're actually opposite ends, 3 versus 9. In terms of, again, the T-tracks, which are from the shelf liners, you can see here that this is, hold on a second here, there's just a little bit weird, come on, like, it's just not wanting to focus. Okay, that's better. It's kind of ridiculous, my phone. So hopefully for the rest of the review, the first couple of minutes were a little bit stupid, but now it's nicely focused. So again, now you can see the lever and the bubble strip. Okay, apologize for the crappy blurry picture in the beginning. We can clearly see there's a 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, versus here, there's only 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can also see side to side that you have the little bit of the bevel, the angle here at the end, right over here. And you can see in comparison that this is a right angle here, right? So hopefully you can clearly tell that that's a right angle versus this is the bevel. You can clearly see the notch on the Empire Strikes Back. There's no notch over here. And again, you can clearly see the rivets over here that's placed. Master Replicas chose to go with what this looked like initially, although again, later on, we do know that they were actually screws and not rivets. But again, hopefully you can clearly tell the notches where you put the rivets here, okay? And then comparing the two of them side by side in terms of the end of the hilt. So you can see that the New Hope version has just the one rivet nailing down the single D-ring, whereas the Empire Strikes Back has actually the end of a Kobold flash gun and then secured in place with 2 rivets. So you can see kind of the difference of those two. The funny thing is actually, if you look at the prop, of the original New Hope, there were actually 2 rivets versus 1. And along the side, in between, there were actually a couple of double rivets as well to hold the D-ring in place. Probably like, here and here. But again, you have to kind of make a decision and make a compromise between what is, replica, prop accurate, like the actual crappy things they did to, fix problems and just kind of get the shoot done, versus a little bit of more idealized replica. You don't want to see, you don't want to show all of the dumb things that had to be done to make these props actually work. And so Master Replicas chose to sort of do away with the extra rivet here and all of that. Okay, so I think this New Hope, prop is a little bit more idealized. There are some very subtle differences again between the actual shooting prop of a New Hope versus what Master Replicas gave us here. Okay, so again, pretty cool, very easily seen difference between the two. Okay. Again, this is kind of special, the first time ever that 2 signature edition Luke Skywalker lightsabers have been compared on YouTube. So what else? This is the same, these grooves and holes, the side vents over here, all of these are all from the Graflex base, right? And so this is actually, you can see, essentially unchanged. You have the same grooves for the for the Empire Strikes Back as well as for the New Hope. We already talked about the PCB versus the bubble strip for the control box. Again, you can see that there's a little rivet here. There's a rivet here as well, both there in place. And then on this side, you can have the lever and the lever are basically identical. Moving up, this is the kind of the glass eye for the New Hope right over here from the Graflex unchanged. And then you have the button, you can see you have the beer tab. So you can see that over here for the Empire Strikes Back, the two are almost identical, but you can see that there is no beer tab. There's a little hole where the beer tab used to be for the top, which is the Empire Strikes Back. You can see there's the beer tab. You can see both have the red buttons, both have essentially identical bunny ears, and both have the switches, power switch right here, power switch right here. And then of course the difference is if you turn it around, the glass eye has been now replaced with another red button. There are some very subtle differences, but it's essentially the same. You can see the placement of the screws and everything else is about the same. And if we look at the emitters, they're essentially identical as well on both sides. Okay, so is the knurling of the knobs, all of that. So there you have it. This kind of showcases very clearly the difference between the New Hope and the Empire Strikes Back props. They do look very much similar, but there are many like minute differences if you care to look. I think I've shown you basically all of them: the placement of the control box, the T-track grips, the D-rings, the glass eye, the buttons, all of that stuff. So there you have it. I mean, hopefully that kind of proved a little bit interesting. It's very difficult, of course, to showcase this if you don't own both. The signature editions of both of these and the limited editions are identical, obviously. I'm sure there's way more people who own limited edition versions of both of these than signature editions, but even that, they haven't made a comparison video. So anyways, I guess I'm the first to do that, so hopefully you'll find that somewhat interesting. But I do find it kind of fascinating, the differences. You may not know, but there were actually 3 so-called hero versions of the Empire Strikes Back. They did one in Hoth, Dagobah, and in Bespin. By the time they got to Dagobah, these T-tracks were literally just popping off constantly. In addition to the screws here, they actually eventually added a couple of double screws even at the top to try to keep these grips from essentially falling off. Whereas for New Hope, they didn't have anywhere near the extremes in temperature. It was all basically shot in studio. So they put these on very, very nicely. Just kind of doing a little bit of research. Maybe some of the modifications, they're very subtle modifications actually between the two. But the reason for some of the modifications could just be simply to make the lightsabers a little bit more otherworldly, a little bit more sci-fi, so to speak. And then the other differences, like these screws, was just more practical to keep it, essentially from falling apart. Don't know why they decided to get rid of the beer tab and also to put an extra button versus the glass eye. These are all very small cosmetic changes. They put the trimmed PCB board versus, again, the bubble strip. All very kind of subtle changes. I don't know why they did that. Maybe they ran out of parts, for the second movie. They had to sort of adjust them, and they just kind of had to make do with it, so to speak. But those are the reasons. Try to layer it on the side. So again, you can clearly see the difference between the glass eye and the button here. But everything else you can see is basically identical, including the grooves of the Graflex base over here as well. So this is sort of my homage to my Luke Signature Edition collection, all 3 of those guys, and kind of showcasing all of the different cases, showcasing the differences. Again, not too much to say about the Return of the Jedi. I mean, that's basically a completely new hilt. So that wasn't very interesting, but I hope you did find the comparison between the New Hope and the Empire Strikes Back somewhat instructive. And it's kind of one thing reading about it and seeing these little pictures on the Wanawanga source base, but it's quite another actually handling these in real time. And Master Replicas is supposed to be like a completely accurate to the props, but as you can see, that is not actually 100% the case. It may not even be practical to achieve that, but it comes pretty darn close. And it's just really, really cool to be able to see it in real time, and for me to show you in a real YouTube video all those differences between the two. And that's kind of the heart and the meat of this comparison video, is to show you those differences. In a way, kind of even more interesting than the Vader Signature Edition compilation video, because these two are so similar. You can kind of see the evolution of one versus the other. So that's it. Until next time, when I do a few more YouTube lights, when I do a few more Master Replicas lightsaber comparisons on YouTube, I do hope you enjoyed that. And until next time, do take care.